With the current defeat of Cath and the decimating state that the 7 deadly sins are in at this point, we cut back to the Four Knights of the Apocalypse and they face a brand new group, and we finally get to see the Four Knights face a match. But not only the Four Knights, but Lancelot seems to not be the absolute unstoppable force that he has been up until this point. This chapter leads us to believe what we can see in the future. Maybe time travel could be a thing in Four Knights of the Apocalypse, or maybe even the multiverse. As well as the first mention of a series that is based off Arthurian legend, the mention of the Holy Grail, as well as more questions on the allegiances to Arthur and the Four Knights being potentially fakes, according to this other group, with their mysterious origins potentially being tied to the Four Knights in some way. And that's what we're going to explore today. But before all that, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for updates on future videos. Really helps, and it shows you guys enjoy the content I make here on the channel and shows you want to see more. And if you want to see more of me outside this channel, go and check out my second channel, GW Comics, where I talk about comic books. I got a lot of stuff planned, especially for DC at the moment. Your guys are going to love it. It's a passion project of mine. I would really appreciate if you guys go check it out whenever you get the chance. Link to it will be in the description down below and in the title card. But without further ado, let's get right into breaking down chapter 233 of Four Knights of the Apocalypse, titled The Mysterious Assassins. Cover image is just of Lancelot as Sin, with the other knights just on his back or Gawain just flying on top, like they're about to go to a pool. But the chapter begins in Camelot following the Four Knights, as we get a much better look at the location. It's dark, it's dreary, it's a bunch of jagged canyons and land masses. As the Four Knights say that this is pretty lonely and they've been walking around for a while and there seems to be nothing of substance around outside of the canyons. And it seems like this is what Camelot, at least this dimension, was supposed to look like, especially now that the people's hopes and dreams are no longer fueling the creation that was made by chaos to give their eternal kingdom its form and shape. We get a bit more of an outside look of the canyon that they are in, as the sky is pretty dark and dreary, as apparently the weather has gotten kind of bleak recently. It could be tied to Cath no longer being in Camelot, or him leaking his wounds, and thus the dimension is kind of reflecting his current mental state, at least in terms of its appearance. That'd be pretty interesting to see. But then Percival asks the important question, how close are they to Merlin's? As Gawain answers, don't ask me, I have no idea where we're going. And this gets Tristan annoyed and just questions, were we just going aimlessly around in circles, just hoping to find where we were going? With Gawain saying, well, yeah, what did you want me to do? All my mom said was that the key is inside of me. And I'm not gonna lie, this fits Merlin to a T. Why give a straight answer to your own daughter, mind you, and just give a vague explanation that the way to get to me is within you? I swear, it's probably going to be something incredibly literal, or it's like something jam-packed in the back of her memories, like instinct, and that's how they're going there, and just going off guts. I have no idea. It could be something tied to a spell that Merlin placed on Gawain, for all we know, but it could literally just be Gawain subconsciously leading them without really knowing it. And Percival tries to tamper down the situation, saying to just think of this whole thing as a fun hike, as obviously Tristan and Gawain just say this is not for fun at all, which also makes sense, considering that they are on a very important mission to find Merlin, to fully get Arthur on board, and to get him back on, at least to some level of strength, to completely get rid of Cath and the threat to Britannia. But Lancelot off on the side tells the three of them to keep it down, as he immediately lets them know that it might be an enemy somewhere around the place. Percival says he hasn't sensed any magic besides their own, with Gawain bringing up the fact that maybe it could be some life spirits hiding around the area. Percival says, yeah, there are a bunch of life spirits around, but he can only vaguely sense them. That is interesting. It could just be the format of how this realm was created through chaos, and maybe that's kind of fuzzing up his senses when it comes to other life spirits, at least with the current state of things right now, since there aren't many actual people there. So that is an interesting thing to tie into, or I'm just reading too much into it. Gawain says that it's very possible someone's using magic to hide their own magic force, which I don't believe we have seen people use spells or objects to mask their magical energy. We have seen like Lancelot use Zero Sign to hide his presence and his magic power, but I don't think we've seen other people use magic to hide their presence. I could be remembering wrong, let me know in the comments section if that is the case. But she says it's a good thing that Lancelot picked this up. But Lancelot just says, well, I'm only feeling this way because I keep thinking about Bartra's predictions. All these talk about fighting weird people around gloomy precipices as we go through Camelot. And I'm glad that we're finally addressing 100% what we are getting into right now. As at the end of the previous chapter, we got that 2-page spread introducing 5 brand new characters, 5 brand new mysterious knights that are seemingly going to be hunting the 4 Knights of the Apocalypse. And we waste no time as arrows fly in from off on the side, as Gawain manages to dodge out of the way, as this archer is cloaked by magic from what we see. And yeah, turns out I and many others were right. This very shady character that looked like a very vague silhouette is indeed a 5th Knight, an archer, as it does seem to confirm that they are cloaking themselves with magic of some way, shape, or form, so that is nice to get confirmation. But then another character ends up dashing right through the canyon and goes straight towards Percival, unsheathing their wooden blade and tries to hit him with a rapier with a scattered rose attack. But Percival instantly notices this sword style as he grabs his 4 circular and parries the blow, going back, throwing away his cape as he says, "If you're still siding with the fake King Arthur, I'm really not gonna go easy." And this outfit for Percival, I actually do kind of like it. It feels like Nakaba is getting better over time at giving Percival actually decent to good outfits. I liked Percival's previous outfit once he was revived. It gave me really big Gohan Piccolo vibes. It was just that the color just felt way too off. It would have been better if it was just flat out black or just purple like Piccolo's outfit, since that seemed to be the inspiration. But this outfit actually looks pretty good if I'm being honest with myself. Granted, I gotta see it fully in color to really see it. We had teases of this in a double-page spread a couple of chapters ago, but I feel like we need at least this look fully colored to get an idea off of it. But in terms of the initial design, I like it. I think it's the best one Percival has had thus far. But this is where we're going to start seeing a pattern with these new knights, with how they fight, their abilities, and familiarities between the characters and the 4 knights. When this rapier knight ends up attacking Percival, he recognizes the sword style, and that is a style that we have seen before. It's Ann's sword style and technique, which is an interesting thing because the only people that would know how to fight like that would be Ann and her mother. Her mother is already dead. We've seen her spirit in a bonus chapter of the volumes of 4 Knights, which again reaffirms my beef with the bonus chapters of the volumes, because while they are nice, I really feel like these should be part of the main chapter discussions, because there is some even somewhat minor but important details and moments that would just fit being put into the main series, and stuff that I really pray that the anime adapts once we inevitably get it back, which I really do hope we get an announcement for season 3 this year. With the end of the current arc, we have more than enough material for another full season of the show. But anyway, this establishes a pattern that we're going to be seeing throughout this chapter with these knights. As Percival ends up enchanting his blade, claiming that they're still in league with the fake Arthur and that they should really just stop or else they won't go easy, this knight ends up saying, "How dare you call King Arthur a faker, even though you are the true fakes?" As this catches Tristan and Gawain off guard, as what do you mean fakes? Who should we be posing as? Gawain basically is telling Tristan not to chat with them as something is about to come forward, with someone flying in from above trying to stab Tristan with a spear, as Gawain manages to push this mysterious person out of the way. But Gawain notices something. This knight has Goddess Clan wings. Another interesting question to be given: why is a goddess seemingly fighting in Camelot for what appears to be perhaps even Cath? Because based off of how things have been, Cath would not have a goddess, a demon, a fairy, or a giant basically be his own allies. Obviously, the sole exception was Nanashi, but that was based off of Nanashi's full-fledged allegiance to the real Arthur. But the spearman gets knocked back by Gawain, as another knight off on the cliff begins chanting a spell. And their arms are long as hell. They're creepily long. Tristan removes his cloak and grabs the Percival sword, or I guess now just the dragon handle sword. Gawain pushes this knight back as well as the sorcerer unleashes a hail of flame. And in that instance, Gawain ends up punching the spear knight away, as she says, "If you're good enough to show up in a prophecy, try to entertain me a little bit," as in her buff form she manages to push this knight backwards. And this image of Gawain just getting ready to unleash a full-fledged punch in, I believe, her 50% form, looks really cool. Also, from how Nakaba has drawn Gawain here, it feels like he's added something underneath Gawain's coat to kind of make at least this design in her buff form seem a bit more complete, because that's honestly been my only real complaint with Gawain's general outfit. That being it in her buff form, it feels like it doesn't fit her, and I don't know, it's been a complaint of mine. But anyway, this knight gets pushed back, and at the same time, Tristan unleashes full counter on the sorcerer's hail of flames, launching it back and canceling it out. I am so happy Tristan is using full counter more, as this is definitely something that fans have wanted him to do since he was introduced in the beginning of Four Knights. I believe we only got to see him, I think, once do it during the Demon Realm arc, and I don't remember if we saw him do it in the Festival arc. I don't think he did it in the Tournament arc at all. I could be remembering wrong. I gotta reread that for a video later down the road. But Gawain, after knocking back the Spear Knight, this knight crashes into the archer who was cloaked, as they just banter a bit, saying, "Why'd you have to be thrown into me, huh?" As the Spear Knight apologizes, with the cloak disappearing, as we get a brief glimpse of the archer as they are in potential, I think, all black. But no time is spent as the sorcerer ends up trying to chant another spell, this time being Blitz Javelin, a spell that Gawain has used a number of times. But Tristan wastes no time again and unleashes a second full counter, this time hitting back the sorcerer full strength. This is honestly really good. This full counter definitely needs to be part of Tristan's main kit, and it really does seem that Tristan nails the timing now to unleash full counter, and he's using it with the same sword that his dad would use full counter on for the first season and a half of the show. I am so happy that's the case, and it's a nice bit of fan service for the viewers. But the sorcerer, a bit charred by his own reflected attack, is questioning what's going on. How are these fakes this strong? As Percival and Tristan are kind of annoyed at being called fakes, as Tristan demands they tell them who they are. As finally, the last member of this foreign group of knights appears, the one with the Oni mask and the katana. As he stands forward, with his katana in hand, about to unsheath it, says that we are the Knights of the Holy Grail. Our mission is to make the deformed right again. As he says this, Lancelot as Sin is just casually strolling next to him, and in the next page, the instant that this mysterious knight begins to unsheath his sword, Lancelot shifts back into his main form, saying, "How about I write this deformity right here?" Lancelot tearing over this person, this swordsman turns back, with Lancelot backhanding his head, cracking the lower half of his mask. But at the same time, the swordsman kicks Lancelot in the side and pushes Lance back. And nice piece of detail, the mask of this knight is flown square into the air. Lancelot blocked the kick with his forearms, but he notices that there's something happening to his arms, as it seems like he felt that, like actual damage. The swordsman wastes no time and lunges forward towards Lancelot and tries to slash at him with his katana, all while Lancelot is trying to block with just his legs, as he has no weapon and is just going pure martial arts hand-to-hand combat. As the knight then spins up with his sword, it seems like he managed to land a blow on Lance, and the mask falls down. He grabs it as Percival, Gawain, and Tristan are utterly shocked, as this mysterious knight places the mask back on his head with only the lower half of his face showing, says, "We make the deformed right again," as he faces off with Lancelot, with Lance panting really quick, as we see that this mysterious knight managed to cut Lance on the cheek and make him bleed. And that's how the chapter ends. This is insane. Not only do we have a knight on this mysterious squad being able to cloak themselves and hide their presence to launch arrows at people, we have one that knows Ann's personal fighting style and sword techniques. We have what seems like a goddess clan member in this group as well, a relatively varied and quick chanting sorcerer, and lastly, we have a katana swordsman who managed to not only go blow for blow with a casual lance, but he pushed him back to Lance's shock and also managed to deal the first real piece of damage Lance has gotten in the manga up until this point, even causing him to bleed. This is a big deal. Almost 200 full chapters of us showing that Lance is the strongest character in the series. Somebody that basically could be a deus ex machina whenever the occasion needs for it. Someone that pushed back at the time to be the main villain, not once, but twice, kind of, for the second time. And someone that Kath did in fact fear and was very cautious over. Only for this mysterious group of characters to not only come in and surprise the main group, but to damage Lancelot. It's minor, obviously, but this katana-wielding knight also has not received any actual damage, just his mask was broken and was the one to deal the first piece of damage to Lancelot. Might have been minor, but that is an important setting stone for the stakes of the story, showing that Lancelot, at least right now, is no longer on the top of the totem pole, at least by himself. This swordsman seems to be on a relatively close scale to actually put up a fight and damage him. That is something that I am incredibly excited for. Now, as for the identity of these knights, they're known as the Knights of the Holy Grail. First mention of a real Arthurian legend story in this series, because the Holy Grail is a story that's been adapted multiple times. From what I know, Percival and a character known as Galahad were the protagonists, or at least leading knights in this Holy Grail story, with Galahad being incredibly important, as that is Lancelot's son, and is also said to be the only knight of the Round Table to be equal or stronger than his father Lancelot. And with a character having Ann's abilities and sword techniques, someone with a herbalist hat similar to Nazien's being able to cloak themselves, someone with Ann's sword techniques obviously, a powerful sorcerer, and someone with goddess powers altogether in this group, many are theorizing that these knights, these 5 characters, might be the descendants of the 4 knights from a distant future or an alternate reality. But my full explanation of that is going to be in a separate video, because I don't want this to be a literal 40-minute video for me speculating literally everything. All I gotta tell you is the multiverse has been, and time travel has been, a thing that's been experimented in canon and in outside canon. Time travel, obviously, before the Holy War arc at the end of Seven Deadly Sins, where King and Leanne were sent backwards in time, their consciousness, to the time of the First Holy War in the bodies of Droll and Gloxinia, and that was a pseudo form of time travel. But the idea of the multiverse and parallel worlds is something that's explored in the Seven Deadly Sins mobile games, whether it be Grand Cross, that makes that the explanation for all of the crossovers, but also making a story with the 7 catastrophes, original characters for that storyline, and the Ragnarok storyline, which is the 7 Deadly Sins facing off against a different dimensions worth of Norse mythology based in the 7 Deadly Sins universe. And the more recent 7 Deadly Sins origin game, which apparently, but the Book of Stars, is heavily tied to other worlds. So this could be a way of Nakba integrating this aspect of the outer lore or non-canon stuff into the canon by giving us the future children of the 4 Knights of the Apocalypse. Obviously, Percival is with Anne and Nazien's, so 2 of those knights are his. The sorcerer obviously would be Gawain's, the goddess character would be Tristan's kid, and lastly, the swordsman is Lancelot's. And many have pointed out that the hair that we saw of this Oni masked swordsman looks very similar in terms of style to Guinevere's. And he's also matching Lancelot in strength, and he's using a sword. So it really does feel like this theory holds a lot of weight in this instance. But I'm going to go over my full thoughts on this and how it could be possible in a future video. So Again, like, subscribe, hit the notification bell to be updated whenever that video comes out. I'm hoping to get it out by Tuesday, the day the chapter officially releases, before my next review. So here's hoping I can get that done in time. But let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comment section down below. What do you think of these mysterious knights? Do you think they're alternate dimension versions of the children of the Four Knights of the Apocalypse? Do you think they're from the distant future? What do you think the Holy Grail is, and do you think it's an actual thing? What do you think the whole confusion with them thinking that the Four Knights are fakes and King Arthur is real? Let me know in the comment section down below, and with all that said and done, I hope you all have an awesome day. If this is like a time travel or multiversal type story, I really hope that Nakaba doesn't fumble this, because this is a subject in stories that can very, very easily be fumbled incredibly hard. But if done right, we could also get what I wanted, a Four Knights of the Apocalypse version of the 7 Catastrophes, or the Norse mythology arc in the mobile game. Yeah, it would pad out the story, but it would also be some really, really cool stuff to expand the wider world and multi-universe building of this entire damn series. Hey, that's another video idea. I gotta write this stuff down sometime.